I'm doing scratch and sniff. Can you smell it? Oh my God, it's bread!
I can smell homemade bread. Soon it's gonna appear before our eyes.
And in my mouth.
Yum yum.
Hey guys.
I'm Bob.
I'm Barb. Together we make up
HetteshWorld.
Today we are doing one of our healthy recipes on a 44-foot RV. It is a low carb bread recipe that you're not going to believe.
It is very delicious. It's the best one we've found to date. 5 net grams for the entire loaf, compared to store-bought low carb bread that can be as high as 3 grams a slice. So this is 5 grams for the whole entire loaf.
So we're going to take you on this journey, show you how we do it. It's not our recipe, so I'm going to link the video below of the woman who makes it. And we have not messed with this at all because it is perfect for us.
Yeah, it works out. We've made it 3 times now, and
yeah.
it has turned out fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm going to link her information and her actual video below, but then I'll list the ingredients below as well. So stay tuned. We're Bob and Barb. We've lived by the rules all of our lives, but in 2020, we threw that rule book out the window. We sold our home and moved full-time into an RV with our cat Amelia, and from now on, we will be living life our way. Don't you want to come travel in our world? The first thing you want to do is get your yeast blooming, because that's going to take a little bit of time.
So our scale here, we want to be able to zero it out. We're going to do grams because grams is a little more accurate.
Yep. So it's 292 grams or 1 1/4 cups of water.
And you want your water about 110 degrees.
Yep. And what we do, if you haven't used this type of thing before, the yeast goes into this bowl. We've already measured the water. We're going to zero it out again, because now we need 9 grams of yeast. All right, it's 2 1/4 teaspoons of the yeast. And I don't know this by heart yet, so I got to rely on my phone.
So we want 9 grams.
And you want to be pretty accurate with this recipe, and you will want to follow this recipe exactly. Exactly, because if you don't follow the recipe exactly, you will be in trouble.
And we're just using a dry, active yeast here.
Yep.
So for yeast to be active, or we need it to have some type of sugar for it to eat, so it can bloom. We're using...
Now this is organic honey, so don't flip out on us here, because this is such a tiny amount of the honey, and it's raw honey that's going in here. The yeast is going to eat all the sugar out of this.
So we want to zero our scale out again, because this is a small amount.
Yep, it is 7 grams or 1 teaspoon.
So 1 teaspoon is all you need. Now we need to whisk this together.
Yep. And then we use our microwave convection oven kind of as a warming place.
Yeah. Our Samsung convection oven, you can set it down as low as 100 degrees, and we kind of want this to stay about 100 degrees for it to bloom.
So we let this bloom throughout the whole process of putting the bread recipe together. And once we get this in the convection oven, we're going to talk about the bread and talk about all the ingredients.
We're going to show you this. I mean, this is before it blooms. We'll show you this after. It'll get real foamy because it'll start eating that sugar up and that honey. And we can set this convection down to as low as 100.
So the ingredients that we're going to be needing for the actual bread recipe, and we're going to go through the measurements and we're going to measure everything out for you, but we are going to use psyllium husk, which we have here. Psyllium husk is more of a...
It gives it gluten feel. It gives it more like a bread feel.
Yeah, that fluffiness feel.
Yeah.
We've got our sugar, which is allulose, or all you lose is what it is, how you spell it if you need to know. This is the sugar you want to use in the bread. You don't want to use erythritol or monk fruit or swerve or anything. You want to use this bread because this bread gives it that crisp up the egg whites that are going to be in this recipe here. Now we are going to be using egg whites, so this is something different, and it's actually an egg white powder. We decided to go this route. You can go ahead and use regular eggs and separate them, but it's like 12
eggs.
Egg whites, yeah, or 12 eggs you have to go through.
So yeah, some of these things might be stuff you don't have in a normal cupboard.
Yeah, so you can use the regular, and then you can use butter or cream. We're using a cream powder. So pretty much it's a powdered recipe.
Yep.
You're going to have your salt, of course. We've got our coarse salt, and we've got our cream of tartar. So let's go ahead and start measuring things out.
Now, on this recipe, you definitely got to follow. The first time we made it, we kind of spanned ahead.
Yeah.
And you definitely have to follow this because it will not turn out.
It's disgusting if you don't follow it. I'm just going to say that because it's just too heavy and it doesn't fluff up and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be doing psyllium husk.
The psyllium husk has to be definitely separate. It has to activate from the warm water that is in our
the
yeast.
Yeah. So it's 10 grams of psyllium husk or 2 tablespoons.
Okay.
So we're going to measure this out. And then you're just going to measure this out and you're going to set it aside for now. That's all you're going to do.
Did you say it's 10?
Yeah. So next is going to be our heavy cream powder. And for heavy cream powder, which also goes into a separate bowl because this is going to be the last thing you mix in. This is where we messed up the first time. We mixed it in with everything else. And this is just like cream. It gives you that fluff that you need.
I'll give you a little bit of a pro tip on your containers here. This is something Barb came up with. But these Wise Dry she gets from Amazon.
Yeah.
You put these down in your powder mixes or even your flour, and it keeps moisture from building up.
I mean, I've got them in my stuff for my teas. I've got them in all of this, and we've even started putting them in our veggies. Our little veggies we cut up for salad just to try to pull some of the water out of them.
Yeah, works out great.
So if you're an RVer, you're definitely going to need this. 24 grams of heavy cream.
Okay. Well, ours turned out, I mean, they're all going to be a little bit off. Ours was about 2.5 tablespoons, which is
so we've got our heavy cream and our psyllium husk. So the next thing is all the rest of the ingredients are going to go into this bowl here. So everything else we have in the recipe is now going to go into our last bowl here. We've zeroed it out. So he has the egg white. The egg white powder is about 1 1/4 cups, which is 100 grams. So we're doing 100 grams here. And I'm really fascinated with this egg white powder. It's just a dehydrated egg white. And it's really nice then for RVing. And also if you're kind of a prepper person, you know, sometimes it's hard to get eggs anymore, even with a shortage. It's nice to have this stuff on hand because it's very easy to take this and some water, 100 grams, sorry, and mix it into an actual white part of the egg. And I even have a yolk powder in the cabinet because we're going to be making something else that we're going to eventually do a video and bring to you, noodles.
Yep, it'll be like a science project.
Yeah, that one will be different. This is stuff that you can easily get at the store or you can order on Amazon. So we have our egg whites. So we're going to zero this out again. Sugar itself on the allulose, you can do anywhere from 20 to 80 grams. We do 60 grams. That we found is the perfect for this loaf. It's not sweet or anything like that.
It gives you a nice crust.
The psyllium husk works really well with the allulose because with making it fluffy, it separates all the particles inside the bread. So it raises nicely in there because if you don't use that, you're going to end up with a flat thing of allulose on the bottom of your bread. Okay. So this was anywhere from 2 tablespoons to 1/2 cup depending on how much you decide to do. So the next thing is we're going to do salt and cream of tartar, or that's cream of tartar. We're going to do cream of tartar next.
So we're going to zero our scale out again.
Yep. Actually, we don't measure. This is exactly just 1/2 teaspoon of each.
So 1/2 teaspoon.
Yep. And I'll put this in my wonderful spice cabinet that Bob built me. And if you have not seen that video, I will link that below.
And 1/2 teaspoon of salt.
We can whisk this together, and we're going to set this aside. So I'm just going to go through these ingredients one more time to make sure we haven't missed anything. So for the yeast, we did 292 grams of warm water, and in that we added 9 grams of active yeast and 7 grams of honey. So we have that in the microwave right now, and we're going to be checking on that kind of on and off. Then we did 10 grams of the psyllium husk. We have 100 grams of the egg white powder, the allulose 60 grams, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and 24 grams of the heavy cream powder. So the next step is to get our pan buttered up. We do bake it in the oven, and we brought one of our favorite little pans from home.
We have the traditional bread pan, and we won't be
That's our meatloaf pan.
We won't be starting the oven for a while because this all has to rise, just like traditional bread.
Whenever you're doing something like this, we use a little bit of olive oil. You can use any oil that you kind of have on hand, but you're going to want to oil your container up good, just so that it comes loose.
I think I cut more pieces of it. Yeah, the better you line this pan, the easier this bread is just it's gonna pop right out.
Yeah, and the oil, this is avocado oil, which withstands better in high heat than your olive oil, but you can use olive oil. But this is just to keep everything from sticking. So step 1 is to oil your pan. Step 2 is to put your parchment paper in. You're going to make 2 entries of it. One will be horizontal, one will be vertical. So when it's done, you can grab it and lift it right up. So you're just going to press this down. And why do you oil the pan ahead of time? Because you don't want your parchment paper sneaking around on you. Parchment paper is probably one of the #1 things we need. So basically, this is the look of it. And yes, we are going to oil it again because this keeps the bread from sticking to it. And you just want to make sure you take it up the sides really good.
Yeah, so normally the yeast and your honey mixture takes about 10 minutes for it to bloom. And like traditional bread, this bread has to rise too, so you'll see it after our mixing process.
Yeah.
It's going to look weird because it's going to be, where bread normally a big glump, this is
and solid.
This is more of like a thick pancake batter almost.
Yep.
So.
Yep. You'll be impressed. Stay with us. Don't give up.
Yeah.
So the next step that we're going to do is...
we're going to check on our yeast and see what it looks like. You can see how foamy it was compared to what it was earlier. So we're going to let it go just a little bit longer. We want to eat all that honey up.
Yep. So the next step that you're not going to see is we're going to clean this little bit of a mess up we got here. Put our ingredients away.
Yep. And
as soon as that is done, then we're going to start mixing it together and you'll see it. And I think you will find it interesting, so stay with us. Clean. Voila! So now it is time to get the yeast out, Bob.
This has probably been about 12 minutes, so it's if you ever made fresh bread, blooming yeast, or if you ever been around a brewery.
Yeah. Can you smell it?
Or a distillery.
It smells incredible. I mean, I want to drink it. That's how good it smells, even though that would not taste good at all. Now that we have got our yeast, the first thing is we need to mix in with our mixer the psyllium husk, and we just want to mix it till it's combined. Now this psyllium husk, you want to say something about it, Bob, don't you?
Well, we want to put this in our warm water, like we said earlier, so it gets activated.
Yep. And
you need the warm water. This is where we messed up on our first recipe because
one of 2 mistakes.
We weren't following the recipe.
We sometimes don't read directions.
So we're going to combine this just a little bit with the mixture.
So the next thing we're going to add is our egg white powder, our salt, our cream of tartar, and our allulose.
Yep.
And you're going to stir it first lightly to get it combined, otherwise it will be covered in powder. And then after that,
you have to run it
on high
for 5 minutes. So let me get all that. Let me get all that good.
It is very powdery, that's for sure.
Yes, it's not a conventional bread recipe.
No.
But believe me, it turns out really well, and it is incredible grilled. If you miss grilled cheese on keto,
yep,
this is pretty good.
So far, we have done bacon, lettuce, and tomato, and we toasted it, right?
Yeah, we've toasted it. Toast, grilled cheese several times.
Grilled cheese. I made little croutons and put it in my soup. I've had peanut butter and jelly. And with just the fresh bread. I've had buttered bread with the fresh bread. It's good. I mean, I like it. You get the texture of real white bread.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's not 100%.
If you eat it plain, it doesn't. It has a little bit of wheat taste because of the blooming yeast, but it doesn't have that wheat gluten to it. Pretty incredible.
The blooming yeast, buddy, the blooming yeast.
So we're gonna start out slow on this so we don't make a powdered mess here. So right now we're just trying to combine all these dry and wet ingredients, and this is our cream, which we do not want to put in until last. That was our second mistake on our first loaf, wasn't it?
Yeah. Here, wait. This is the consistency that you kind of want it to be. It's like a cake batter or a whipping. I've tried it. Don't eat it. I mean, it's not that it tastes bad or anything, but it's not what you think it's going to be. So the next thing you want to do, and we had said this was our second mistake, is that the whipping cream powder is something that's very important that goes in now, and you're going to whip it in slowly just to incorporate it, almost kind of fold it in, but we will use the mixer on low.
Yep.
When you're whipping in this cream, it's just like whipping in cream. It's just going to give it that extra fluff. Now, before we put it into our bake pan, we want to show them the question I'm sure that's burning in their minds is, how the heck are you working a blender from the island without cords everywhere?
That's right.
We've got a video coming up, but we're going to give you a sneak peek of it.
As y'all know, this is a 39 FKTH. We got a front kitchen with an island with the sink in the center, but it had no electrical outlets.
So Bob put in an electrical outlet.
Yep.
And we'll have a whole video that talks about that.
Now, we use this counter a lot for baking and for food prep.
Yeah, this is our one space in the kitchen, especially when we put the covers down, that it's whole and we can use the whole thing.
Yep.
So now the next thing is to put it into our bread pan.
Yep.
Bring this over here.
Where'd our little squeegee go? This is not traditional looking batter.
Nope.
So
I'm going to turn it a little bit so you can see it. Now you're going to want to pour this in, and you're going to kind of want to, I'm going to bring the camera over here so you can see it. Kind of make sure that you even it out as you go. Because if you don't even it out, you're going to get air pockets or cracks or holes in your bread.
Nobody wants crack in their bread. That's why the parchment paper works so good.
Yeah, because when you're done, you're just going to be able to lift it right out and put it onto a cooling rack. So definitely shake it a little bit and give it a couple things, because you want it to be as smooth as you can get it. For some reason, when we got this out, I didn't get the handle out, but just get it as smooth as you can get it. And we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what all of this looks like after it raises, you know, what you do to get more of a bread look to it.
Now this has to proof just like any traditional wheat gluten bread. So
yeah.
This is going to have to sit for a minimum of an hour to rise, up to an hour and a half. We've had an hour and a half before.
Yeah, we've done about an hour and a half. And once again, we use our wonderful microwave convection oven. So you want to definitely keep it at 100, because you don't want it actually baking, because it will cook the egg whites. It's very important. So we're going to hit start. So it's already preheated to 100. So I hit stop.
Do 10 minutes because then it can sit in there.
And then we'll hit start. So it's come out of the convection microwave oven, and it is definitely risen. You can see that. So what you've got here is kind of it's the crust, but you want to give it a little bit of a score, which is not always easy to do. So you just got to take your time and come down here. And what happens is that it will continue to rise even while it's baking. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, it looks good.
And then it may split on a side, which happens every now and then, but when it cools, it shrinks back down.
Yep.
So we will get about 18 slices out of this when it's all said and done. But got our oven preheating. It's going to get up to 350 degrees, and we cook it for about 25-30 minutes. So we'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. I'm doing scratch and sniff. Can you smell it? Oh my God, it's bread!
I can smell homemade bread. Soon it's going to appear before our eyes.
And be in my mouth.
Yum, yum.
So we ended up riding our bicycle and not coming back right away because somebody's tent was blowing away. So we did not let it set in the oven longer. We just had it in there probably about 40 minutes. So you see how it splits right there? That will go totally closed.
Yep.
When it cools. And then you've got this nice little split here in the middle. So when we come back to it, we'll have Bob spice it up.
We're gonna pull it out, let it cool.
Yep.
So we're gonna.
Careful.
That's what this paper makes it nice, because you usually normally just pull it down.
Yep.
It looks like a loaf of bread.
Yep. Anticipation. He's making me wait. Making me wait. Pour butter on mine. Nope.
So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Ooh, we got 20 this time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy Valentine's Day. So with the crust, you definitely get a crust texture that you don't get when you're eating more of this. Sturdy, but flexible. It doesn't taste like egg, in case you're wondering, or cream.
No, it's it has bread consistency. It tastes a little bit like bread.
Show them where yours is thicker.
Yep.
Mm.
I like mine with a little jam on it.
That's what I was just gonna say. We make a homemade jam.
This is just berries cooked down with a little butter and swerve. And it
yeah,
makes a really good jam.
I mean, it's not solid like a jelly or whatever, but it is a very good jam. And this is actually from when we were in Michigan, which we're doing the Michigan video right now. Cherries, blueberry cherries, and I think blueberries is what's in here.
Yeah, that fruit that was crossed between a blueberry and a
cherry,
was it?
Mm-hmm. We hope that you like this video.
Yep.
We love this video because it's very tasty. Hold on.
Yeah, definitely on the keto diet you miss bread, or you miss eating a sandwich with a piece of bread instead of eating a lettuce wrap all the time. So that's what it gives you. It gives you that feeling of bread. Yeah,
we haven't done the hamburger challenge yet, that we want to put a hamburger on it. That would be the next one.
Yeah, what we want to do is get some silicone bun.
Yeah, molds.
Molds, and then you make buns out of it, same bread.
You got buns, hon. So, we hope you're following us on our journey. We're all about RV life, healthy eating, adventures, and Can-Am rides. Yep. So give us a like, please. Comment below.
Yep. Try making the bread. Barb will leave the recipe in the description and let us know what it tastes like.
Remember, the original author, creator of the recipes, link is below, so you can watch her video too and find more details out. So remember, we're HetteshWorld.
Come travel in our world.
Bye.